Welcome in. I'm Kimberly. This is Journey to the New Earth. I'm so glad you're here today. We're going to have a wonderful conversation with a very, very interesting gentleman, Vincent Tolman. We have actually talked with him before, and he has had probably one of the most profound near death experiences that I've heard. We'll be touching a little bit on that and also about the things that he saw when he was on the other side. So look forward to that conversation. Before we get started, if you're new here, I hope you click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And if you want to keep track of what's going on in this crazy world, you might want to sign up for our Friday morning email newsletter. The link is in the description box down below. Every Friday morning, we send out a very short, very sweet, very free email newsletter featuring all the important things that we think are going on around the planet. It's very informative. I think you're going to love it. Super easy to sign up. And if you want to join in with like-minded people and have a community that you can be a part of, you might want to join us over at Locals. That's journeytothenewearth.locals.com. We're a very active community over there. We're sharing information back and forth all the time. You might love it. You just click the little description box link and you'll be right there. And with that, I'd like to welcome in Vinny Tolman. How are you, Vinny?
Hello, nice to be here.
Nice of you to join us. You know, you were here a while back, and I'll have to say you had one of the most profound near-death experiences I've heard. I don't know anyone else who was zipped up in a body bag.
I actually got to work for a while with a 3-day comeback.
Is
Yeah,
that
this
right?
yeah, a guy was he was working with me with my construction crew, and he was in his autopsy when his heart started. Yeah.
Wow. So that kind of discredits everything we've ever heard about medicine in the body and how long it can survive.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing is we don't understand is um, as life is a finite thing, but it's also an eternal thing.
Yeah.
And kind of if there's a purpose to the return, then the return happens. And with him, uh, li- like quite literally, he was in the morgue for 3 days, and in his autopsy, his heart started. So it's like, and he's not the only one. After I had that experience of working with him for about 3 months, and then sharing my story at IANS, I've heard of some others too.
That must have freaked out the the can you imagine?
If I was the tech, I'd probably retire right then.
I mean, you just would not forget that event for
Oh
sure.
no.
Yeah. Well, you know, what I really want to focus on tonight is what you saw regarding the changes on Earth while you were on the other side. But I want to touch on something that for me was pretty profound about your near death experience, and that is the role of our guides in life.
Hmm.
In particular, and for those who didn't see Vinny's story, he was put in a body bag and put it on in an ambulance. And there was a brand new EMT in that ambulance back with his body. And that EMT kept getting this message, he's not dead, he's not dead, do something, do something. And how I perceive that is that if we could see other frequencies, we probably would have seen in that scene your guide, his guide, a couple of other guides whispering in his ear, making it happen. It just was so very well orchestrated in order to give you this experience and then to have you come back and share it. What are your thoughts about that? Because I don't think that guy came up with that idea on his own.
He didn't. And since that happened, I've done a lot of meditative journeying. I've even done some hypnosis journeying where I've done my own research into what would have happened if he didn't do this. And I was told in that journey, uh, immediately it would have fallen upon the heads of one of the other medics to receive the message. And
Oh,
if they didn't follow it, it would have went to the other medic, and they were going to try all three. Yeah, but for sure the purpose was there, and the purpose was bigger than all of us involved. It
Right.
needed to happen. Yeah, and I felt that from the very beginning, that all of this is a much bigger purpose than just my story and just my experience. It's
Mhm.
more of all of our journey, all of our experience is 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 purposeful.
Yeah. You know, the thing that I want the the thing that I wanna point out about that particular story, and that was probably one of the most profound or obvious examples of really intense spirit guide interaction, very identifiable, is that when we're getting those little nudges, there's a reason.
Yeah.
There's a
There's a
reason.
and
It
even the nudges we don't listen to are there for a reason. And people that are aware of their spiritual nudges, they'll probably um, agree with me on this, that even the nudges we don't listen to, they're there to teach us to listen to it next time.
yeah. And my experience is the more you listen,
The louder the voice.
yep,
Yep.
and the clear is like, "Oh, okay. All right, fine. I'll
Yeah.
do it," you know?
Well, it's like a sport or a skill. The more
Mhm.
you do it, the easier it is, the more it becomes almost muscle memory for you, and it becomes second nature, and before you know it, you're conversing better with your guides than me and you are conversing right now.
Yeah.
I can
Let's
have 7 conversations in less than a second with my guides. I'm not
that's
kidding. Your brain or your consciousness, let me say it this way. Your consciousness is so amazing. For
yeah.
the dumbest person to the smartest person, the consciousness is so amazing, and it can have unlimited conversations at the same time.
And my experience, and maybe this is the same for you, is that the depth and breadth of the information is much broader than like you and I talking back and forth. In other words, it contains emotion and intent and and just so much more information in that little packet than me just verbally talking to you and you hearing the words.
Exactly. Yeah. And what's really neat too is, as we build this relationship with our guidance team, it starts the kind of opening that door is belief. Not
Oh, yeah.
not actually opening it, just belief. Belief does open that door. So when you have the belief first, then the door opens. I've watched this in the 21 years of marriage to my amazing wife, Andrea. She didn't believe she had that gift. And me pointing out the times she was listening to her guides, it helped convince her of this belief. Now, a while back, she was driving down this road and she got this really strong pull to go get a snow cone, a shaved ice.
Yeah.
And that's not her thing. It's just not her thing. It might be one of our kids' thing, but not her thing. Well, she pulled in, and right as she pulled in, this driver that was fleeing from the police raced right past where her car had just been and plowed into 8 other cars as it was trying to flee police. So simple little things like you want a shaved ice right now, go get it. It's something that you would just shrug off. But when
Mhm.
you recognize it's coming from that place, that simple message is really important.
Yeah. You know, and when I think about it, now that you bring that up, I think there's probably 2 skills that as a human on planet Earth right now, that if you master these 2 skills, you're golden. The first is following your most excitement. In other words, the choice that seems like the most fun or the most exciting. And the
Mhm.
second is listening to that little inner voice. You could almost not go wrong if you did those
Yeah.
2 things.
Well, because even if you're going wrong, you're going right. I've had that little voice say, "Go do this," and later I'm like, "Hey, that wasn't the best thing to do." And then zooming out further, letting more time play out, I realized that decision was my catalyst to awaken something totally new in me that I didn't know was there. And it took me making a little mistake even through that voice.
Yeah, I would agree with that, or what it is you don't need to do anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We get that a lot. We get the tree trimmed all the time by guides. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And your guide's name is Drake. Do you guys still have a pretty tight
Yeah,
relationship?
Drake is a part of my team. I work with a very large team. My team over the years has gotten larger and larger, not because of my choice at all. It's because of what I do. It's what I do for a living. A lot of my guides are out in front of me working with clients before I work with them, and working on problems that people are thinking that I'm some kind of solution for, but I'm not. They are.
Right.
And so they're like assisting them with that. So the team itself is really large, but everybody has multiple guides,
Mhm.
and we don't need to know their names. Names are for us, not for them. They are more about purpose. What we would be better served to do is learn how to receive communication from them or
Mhm.
feeling from them. And for me, I've had people ask me, how do you know this isn't the voice of the devil? How do you know this is the voice of God or angels or guides? And I tell you the same way I know up and down.
Yeah, you can feel it.
I know where my resonant love energy is in my consciousness, in my being. And I can get messages from consciousness below my resonant frequency. And I know that I could follow that, but I have a strong chance of interpreting it the wrong way or not receiving it out of the right place of love. So I do not listen to those guides. I only listen to the guides above my love energy. And
Yeah,
in that way, even my mistakes are leading me in the right direction as long as I'm listening to my guides.
right. And I think you bring up a good point, particularly if you start when you start opening up, there's lots of people that aren't in physical that will talk with you.
Oh,
It
there's
doesn't
innumerable.
it doesn't
In
necessarily mean they got it something
so
good to say.
if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, close your eyes. I want you to know there are thousands of dimensions around you right now. And just in our dimension, there are thousands of souls around you.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
But within
Right.
every dimension, there's thousands of souls. So
I know, and there's infinite dimensions. It's when I start going down this road, I think, um, trying to understand it, the dimensions from a human brain, from the receiver, or this little machine up here is like trying to teach my cat to use a computer.
exactly. It's kind of
It's
like an ant. An ant on the ground looks up and sees an airplane and tries to figure that out. It's just the ant's not
Yeah,
going to. The ant's really good at figuring out what an ant does.
I
So,
know.
for us, sometimes it is hard for us to understand it, but the more we can just be open to understanding that what is, and playing within that system and recognizing where we are and receiving messages from a higher place than us,
Yeah.
then we're safe to do so.
Yeah, and I think that this the saving grace, and those are weird words I'm using, I realize that, but the saving grace is that if we just believe, we can end up getting more information than when we would be able to logically figure out on our own. Like these little
Ab-
packets of information that you get from your guides is it's so rich and dense that it's much different than trying to solve a problem analytically.
it is, and I love that you use the word grace. It's grace that we exist in, and this is not some religious thing, but yet it is. It's what we are calling grace in religion, but it's much larger than what
Mhm.
we're taught about in religion. The way that source or creator, or one of my favorite words for God is abun, which is Aramaic. It means cosmic
Oh,
birther of life. And and that source, that creator looks at us the way we look at cute little toddlers on the playground.
so much love. Mhm.
Yeah, so much love. And you see them, getting in little altercations, and that's us, road raging at each other or whatever, or hurting each other or falling down and scuffing their knee. But all of it is cute. All of it is
Mhm.
beautiful. All of it is wonderful. And that's the way Abun looks at us.
Yeah. Yeah, I once heard the analogy that it's almost like we're kids that are out playing in the front yard
We
and
are, yeah.
mom's in the house fixing lunch. She doesn't care what we're playing. You
No.
know, we can play whatever we want. She's not gonna come out and solve it or fix it for us. We get to decide how we wanna play. So we get
But
the choice.
but what upsets mom is to see one of us not playing, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
So that
go
does,
play with your brothers and
yeah, go
sisters.
play. Go
Yeah,
go engage.
yeah,
Be there. Feel what's going on. Yeah.
yeah. So the reason I wanted to talk with you particularly and more so since we decided we were gonna do this and things are unfolding on the planet is it's getting a little goofy. And I know that when you were on
Yeah.
the other side, you had some pretty profound glimpses of where we're going.
Mhm.
And my one of the concerns I have or one of the issues I try to address on my channel is that I know people are a little, I don't know, freaked out or troubled or anxious right now. And even if you're really aware of your spiritual nature, you're really aware that we're eternal beings and this is just a little, kind of a little reality system that we're in, it still feels uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
so I'm trying to g- gather some information that will help people at least have a little bit of an understanding of what we're going through and maybe make some sense out of the goofiness. So maybe you can share with us what you saw and maybe you're looking at that beginning of that reality unfolding now on the planet. I don't know. We haven't checked in on that. So
Yeah, we are. We are. We're watching it. It started with a wave of energy hitting the Earth on April 8th of 2024. That first wave completed its cycle on August 8th, which is the Lion's Gate. And that was the first wave. I saw those waves hitting the Earth, and I saw what it was doing. That
okay, when
first
you say
wave.
I saw it, tell us what that looked like.
So it looked like the Earth um, having growing pains. And the first wave was kind of an activation of chaos. And that's what happened April 4th to August 8th. We had an activation of chaos. Now the next wave, it goes in complete succession. So we're in the second wave now as of right now. So that starts with the Lion's Gate. And the second wave, I call this second wave the wave of faith, or what one of my good friends says is the wave of Bob Marley, that everything's gonna be all right. We're gonna be saying that for quite a while. We've got to keep saying it. We've got to believe it and to know it, even as we're watching horrible things happen, terrible things happen. But here's why we have to believe that and know that is the way that life and source works is with every swing of the pendulum into chaos, the correction into peace and balance will be equally or greater. In physics, it would be equal.
Well, I think
But
that
that
for every action, there's an equal reaction. I mean,
there is.
that's just
So
how
so
living.
so with all this, like for instance, I had a friend looking at the Asheville area in buying some land, and he calls me and says, "Hey, you said that place was the place to go. Look what's happening there." And I go, "I know, isn't it horrible? But isn't it also wonderful?
Yeah.
Because it's preparing us. It's preparing the land, and it's preparing us. That we need to be our own heroes,
Mhm.
and that's what we're finding there. Look at the beautiful things that are happening with the locals there, not the government.
I know.
The locals are the only ones doing the saving right now.
Yeah.
And that's no judgment on whoever's failing to do their job, because they are failing to do their job.
Mhm.
but that's a celebration of the locals um, uh, donating helicopters to go save people. There's been two fundraisers that I've been a part of that one raised almost $100 million in less than a day.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's us. That's a sign of us. That's who we are. But yet, if you kick on the news out there, they're going to tell you we are war, we are fighting, we are prison sentences, we are murder, we are rape. But we are not just those things. We
Mhm.
are the opposite. And there's not a news agency out there reporting those things.
Yeah. I felt the exact same way. The juxtaposition of the failure of the institutions that we have learned to lean on to save us, and then seeing just the incredible determination and sovereignty and strength and coming together of those people. And I see so many of them on social media saying, "Hey, I'm a housewife from here and I'm raising money and this is my email address and you can PayPal money and I'm taking it out to the community." I mean, it's just really impressive, and it gives those people the opportunity to realize how powerful they are, which I think is one of the greatest gifts you can get.
To me, it's our country, as a country, the United States of America. We just got a gut shot by a shotgun
Yeah.
in our stomach.
Yeah.
And there's a big part of us that is reaching all of our resources to go support wars, even while we have that gaping wound on us. That's what we are doing. But what I love is it's the body itself of us that is stepping in and filling in the gaps. This is a really hard lesson for us, but we are learning it for a very important reason. This is a
Mhm.
symbol of what our future here on the earth is going to be for a little while.
Yeah.
It is going to be hard. It's just like what Drake told me in my experience. It's going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it. And yes, we're going to lose some close ones. We're going to lose some friends, quite a bit of them. It's going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it.
Yeah. And that's so true. I can remember talking to a girlfriend, a neighbor, and we were talking about the potential breakdown of society and the systems that we have in place. And I was saying to her, it could be a challenge, but I'll tell you what, it's gonna be the most engaging, exciting time for so many people because they're finally gonna really get out there and get involved in something that really matters to them. They're gonna start doing things that they feel like they're needed and they belong and they've got a power that they can use that matters. And to me, it's that juxtaposition of a real tragedy and then people having total purpose and probably having, and this sounds weird, some of the best times of their lives because they're really being who they are, and they're getting to bring all their energy to the table and really connect and really make a difference. And there's a part of me that thinks that's what we're missing.
It is. And,
So many we're missing as a society is that can't wait to get out of bed and go make a difference kind of feeling.
well, that mission, that internal mission, we miss that. We do. A lot of the missions that we are delivering through our social media and such, they feel like false missions to most of us.
Yeah.
They do, but this kind of mission, there's a reason why the last 20 years the most popular movies have been superhero movies. And here's why. Because we are the superheroes.
Yeah.
We are the Harry Potter, the one who wakes up not knowing that there's magic inside of us.
Yeah.
And that's what comes out with struggle and with trial. Look at the greatest generation. And for you millennials, just Google Greatest Generation. You'll figure out who I'm talking about. Um, Look at the Greatest Generation, what they went through, the tenacity, the strength, and we won't have to go through as hard as their stuff. We're going to have to go through harder.
Yeah. It's
We
going to be
are.
harder. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's take a step, or let's go back a little bit in time. And I know that you saw visions when you were with Drake.
Hmm.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because I was listening to another interview that you did earlier today, and it brought up some questions for me about the whole infinite realities. So take us back to what you saw, and then I'll pop in with a few questions here and there.
Well, I'll tell you this, like for the longest time, my experience happened over 20 years ago. And for the longest time, my guides were not allowing me to talk about any of the future stuff at all. It's like people just were not ready for that.
They weren't
In
ready.
in 2012, it started to change a little bit, and I could talk about it individually with people face to face. When I was guided, it was okay to talk about it, especially if they asked me about it. I wasn't going around saying, I know the future. No way. I've never been that guy. But when people come and ask me, and they specifically are guided by their own guidance team to ask me what I saw about this or that, as long as my team okays it, I go for it. But the the hard part is we're still not ready for all that is coming. But it is, we have to rest assure ourselves that it is so going to be worth all of this on the back
Mm.
end. We are going to watch absolute miracles happen in front of our faces. We will watch something that is so unexplainable. We will think that VR did it, or CG did it, but it's going to be real life. We will watch it in front of our faces. And we'll know that these miracles are happening for a reason, because we are purging, we are getting out of us the cancers of delusion.
Mhm.
Delusion is what we receive when we look through our iPhones, when we look through our Android phones. They turn us into these robots like
Yeah,
androids, or
yeah,
they become the I for us. And it's not by happenstance that your assistant on the iPhone is your iris spelled backwards. The iris functions to help you see, but we will see what the eyes can't see. And we'll
yeah.
do that because of our connection with our guidance team. We'll do that with our connection with Source, with Abun. Yeah,
So I can remember the first time, and I've heard of these referred to as deadly devices. I think that's
yeah,
true. And I can remember the first time, way back when, Vinny, when they had the little flip phones, those little flip phone things. And I looked at it and I thought, or we could develop our telepathy, you
yeah.
know. I almost feel like the devices where, it's a useful, not so useful kind of thing, in that it does connect us, and it has made it possible for people to communicate in a way that we couldn't before.
Yeah.
And I think that that ability to communicate has really helped wake us up, because now we can share our experiences and other people connect with it, so that we're definitely moving forward at a faster pace. It's when the devices start, and I think it's always been the purpose to steer us in a particular direction, to make sure that we almost don't use those gifts that are innately ours, that
Oh, it is.
telepathy,
It's to
that
replace those gifts for us. It is.
Mhm.
That's why they call it an iPhone. They don't want us using our third eye or our fifth eye. And for you have to be pretty far up your spiritual journey to even know what that fifth eye is.
What is the fifth eye? I haven't heard that
You
before.
you've got to get there to know it, but you'll get
Okay,
there. I promise. I promise. Like everyone who knows what a third eye is, it's essentially your stellar gateway.
okay,
It's even a higher level to the third eye, which is the fifth eye.
okay.
And it happens after you become clairvigiant, where you can actually see what your guides are showing you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know that during your journey, you saw a version of Earth with far, far fewer people on it.
Yes. Hmm.
And you're not the only person I've heard that from. I've heard that from a number of people, people from that are here from the Pleiades. I've heard it from channelers. And I know that sounds scary to people to think, oh my gosh, we're going to lose 90% of our population.
Hmm.
Well, we don't really lose them. They're just not where we are.
Exactly.
Or we're
They
not.
leave the playground. They leave the
Yeah,
playground.
and they go to another
But
playground.
but here's what's funny. They're not leaving the actual playground. They're just shifting dimensions
Exactly.
to the other playground. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you take a few minutes? Because I know you've been doing this for so long now that you probably have gotten pretty good at explaining how we can be in the same place, but just shift out a little bit to phase into another reality, which I understand on a sort of level, but boy, I certainly don't understand it like I
I'll
understand,
give you I'll
baking
give you
cookies or something.
I'll give you two really good examples, okay? Um, I was in LA um, with my family, and we were driving around LA, and as we were driving around, I see this man who is obviously in some type of mental process of deconstruction. He's walking down the street. He's speaking. He's speaking really fast. He's talking to someone. So whenever I see this, I live in Las Vegas, so I see a lot of this in Las Vegas too. But this particular time, I felt a nudge from my guides. Uh, you need to ask or you need to pray for this guy. And I said, oh, okay, let's do that. So I started sending a prayer to him, sending my positive intention of love and prayer towards him. And as I did, it's like he stopped for a second and he was looking around, like he felt it, but he didn't see me. He was still in such a almost a psychosis. I don't think he saw even one person on the street. He was so entrenched in his fears and what he was dealing with. He could only see these dark energies that he was talking to, and most of them were based in fear. But even no matter how deep you get into that, he was witness to a ping, a little energetic ping of me sending love through my team to him.
Yeah.
Now, in the reverse, when when I first met my wife Andrea, I didn't know what was going on. I I knew there's this crazy energy between us. I was on top of the world. I was whistling all day at work. My coworkers were like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you so happy?" I couldn't see it. I couldn't see why not to be happy. And everywhere I looked, I saw symbols of God's love for me and for Andrea and for the world. And that's a symbol, another way that we can go with our perception, with our mind. It's our it's us that gets to tilt that towards the love side or towards the fear side. But we can be amongst others that are not experiencing that. And I know all of us have been on the good side and the bad side of that. When you're in love or you've had something really good happen to you, a promotion, something like that, you're just having an awesome day no matter what. And then you get around someone who's not having an awesome day, and you just being near them bothers them.
Yeah. Because the
I've
energy just doesn't jive.
No, and I've been on
Yeah.
both sides of that, where I
Yeah.
see that person whistling through the grocery store, and I'm like, "Ugh, another one," you know?
No.
So it's like we can be in two different places at the same time, but still be human, and that's just within our realm. Now
Mhm.
take that principle of energy, of love energy is the high side, fear and anger, which that's the same energy. Fear and anger is the same energy. That's the low side. So take that perception, and now you understand this ladder,
Mhm.
the the perceptual Jacob's ladder, where you have love and intelligence and supreme consciousness at the top, and at the bottom you have alone, ostracization, victimhood, victimization, um, punishment, pain. At the bottom, it's just all these bad energies. But at that top, you have this supreme consciousness. And how the guides work is they're connected up there.
Yeah.
And they're bringing the energy, the intelligence, the consciousness down to you. The all knowing is coming to you through them. And that's why it is so important to listen to the energy above you, but not below you.
Right. In making that choice.
Yeah.
I do think that humans, I, I can I can sense them waking up or they're becoming more sensitive.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
and I'll
There.
tell you a funny I think it's a funny story. I was at a stoplight and there was a truck, like not right next to me, but next to the car in front of me. And there was a man driving that truck and he was clearly a kind of a worker and he had hands. And I was admiring his hands, his masculine hands, it's like, I love a dude, and I was like, "Oh, those are good hands." And I'm really, like, admiring them, I'm just sitting in my car, and I'll be a son of a gun if he just doesn't reach out of his window and turn back to me. He could feel
He
me
could feel it. He could.
looking at him.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? And he couldn't see
Absolutely.
me. I mean, it's like he could feel that energy because it was packed with emotion, like, "Oh, I really like that masculine hand," kinda thing.
He was picking up on that love energy being broadcast by you. One of my
Yeah.
favorite things to do is go in a large group of people who don't
Mhm.
who don't know I'm there, sit in the back, and from behind them, I will do a love ping.
How do you do that?
And it just says, I love the supreme beings that are in present in this space. And you'll be able to watch one by one all of your high vibrational, high love beings will start going like this.
Oh,
They don't
really?
know why either. But I
Right.
love that. But sometimes I'm that being. I'm like, oh, what am I feeling behind me? And
Mhm.
it's just a fun way to know and classify your high vibrational. Now, once in a while, you will get a low vibrational being like, oh, almost they duck. You feel like a ducking energy or an itch. They'll feel an itch. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's fun. I like to play with it because I'm at the playground. I
Right.
like to play with it.
That's such a beautiful, fun way to look at it. So, back to the tragedies on Earth. That's a funny way to say it. Someone had asked earlier, there was a question on the screen. It's like you had mentioned that these challenging events will serve to unite us in a way that we haven't been united before.
100%, yes.
Can
And
you talk a little bit more about that so it kind of
I
helps
could I
people
could
to
tell you
understand?
firsthand how something like that can happen. Again, I live in Las Vegas. We had the October 1 shooting a few years back, where there was this apparent shooting of one or who knows gunmen that were shooting at a concert here.
Yeah.
We lost over 60 souls, or 60 people passed that day, that night, and one of them was the son of our friend.
I'm sorry.
And in doing that, we were all suffering together and grieving together as the loss um, was communicated to the valley. Prior to that October 1 shooting, Vegas was a normal place, a normal city, not a normal town, a normal city as far as cities go. You'd come home, open your garage, go inside, close the garage, never say hi to your neighbors, really. Maybe a couple of neighbors because of weird interactions. You knew them, you might wave to them here and there, but it was very non-engaging. After the October 1 shooting, I watched people come out to their front yard, talk to each other for hours, hugging each other, holding each other. I saw a line that was a mile and a half long for people to drop off water bottles and donations for the workers who were processing the scene. It was, to me, a miracle to see my community here in Las Vegas come together tighter than I have ever seen it. Now, I moved it to Las Vegas in 2004, so I have a lot of experience here in Nevada. And I'm telling you, this community had never been a community like that ever
Mhm.
before. And we have a hockey team, the Golden Knights, and they were kind of becoming popular, but after that happened, they became kind of the city's symbol of resilience. And everybody was wearing hockey gear everywhere at the grocery store. And isn't that funny? In this hot city of Las Vegas, we are wearing our hockey gear, our big, thick jerseys, no matter how hot it is, as a symbol of love and support. And somewhere, someone inspired did a hashtag Vegas Strong, and that became one of the number one tattoos for 4 years straight in the city, and sometimes outside in other cities. It wasn't just us that were pulling together as our community. We were joining the community of the world in support and love of each other. There's been 13 foundations started, 13 nonprofit foundations doing beautiful work in the names of 13 of the individuals that were killed in that. And each one of them, or affiliated in that, and each one of them are doing things that weren't being necessarily done before. So I hate to think that, yes, there was loss of life, but look at the upgrade that God gave us from that tragedy.
Yeah.
I hate to think tragedy ever has to happen, but tragedy is part of our growth. It is.
Well, definitely in this dimension. And I think that that's why this dimension is so valuable
Yeah.
because we can have these broad range of experiences.
Well, this dimension holds so much polarity. That's what's so rare in the universe. We have tremendous good and tremendous bad. We do.
How do you see, people talk about the new earth. Do you see earth changing to a higher vibrational state when there's not so much polarity, when the dark versus the light is not so contrasty?
It is. We're going to see the individual soul is going to go into unification or separation itself. The soul. So we are either going to unify into a good energy, and that's the direction we're going with our lives, with our consciousness, or we will go into some type of bury our consciousness in technology. And
Yeah.
that's what's beautiful about these phones is we're right on the cusp of getting technology that you can just plant in your brain. And if we think we have a hard time with our technology while it's in our hands, you just wait till it's a chip in your brain or a chip in your wrist. um, uh, they gave us the movie Wall-E to give us a heads up. The movie Wall-E, look at all those people rolling around on these little hover cart things, staring at their entertainment all day. And that's essentially, if some people were given exactly what they want, they would want you to pay their housing, their food, and their phone bill. That's it.
Yeah.
So they can have their entertainment all day long.
And I think that to me brings up and therein lies the separation for those who want to investigate that type of existence and those who would like to experience a different type of existence. I'm interested in the creativity and the potential of humanity.
So it,
Like,
it
well, what can we create? What can we do? What kind of art can we create? What kind of music? What kind of technology? What kind of world and I don't mean technology like the kind that is sticky, that sucks you in, but that expands the the potential for the collective.
so we have to think of the individual, the self, and Are most of our concerns about consuming, or are most of our consumes about building? And that's where we have to ask ourselves, do we only consume everything? Consume our music, consume our entertainment, we consume our food, we consume our drinks. What are we creating or bringing in production to society? Where it starts is our thoughts.
Mhm.
And what's really neat is when you make your thoughts real, you spell them. You turn them into spells. Like you are
Right.
actually bringing your thoughts and writing them down. And then
Mhm.
if you want to take it even further and make those thoughts 10 times stronger than a spell, say them.
Mhm.
Say those spelled words. And now you're making magic. You really are. The power of creation starts with the thought first.
Yes.
So when you're having a consuming thought, then kick it out. Say, nope, not today. I'm going to choose a loving thought. Or consume something very positive that shifts your energy to have the positive
Yeah.
thoughts.
And I know that when you were on the other side, Drake was you and Drake were having your early experience together. And he was talking to you about what was important, and authenticity, being authentic was like number 2 on the list.
Yeah,
Um,
it was number one. It was like the most important thing for us is authenticity. And it's because if we can't be authentic, if we don't know who we actually are.
right. And I think that that circles back to what we're seeing in with the hurricane victims is our society, for some reason or another, has gone in a direction where people are living lives that might be described a lot of people are living lives that might be described as mundane. Or I'm just working this job just so I can get a paycheck, just so I can buy the house, just so I can have the car, so I can retire when I'm 60 and, blah, blah, blah. In other words, it's not a life that sparks them.
Let me give you a perfect scenario. Let's say I am a being that likes to have power. And the way I get power is I keep people consumed with entertainment.
Yes. Bread and
And that
circuses.
that ex, that explains our society right now. We might be up there dancing our TikTok dances and sharing them with all our friends, but we're not changing the world with that.
And we're not getting in touch with that with which is within us that really lights
Yeah.
us up.
Here's what's so amazing to me. You can change the world faster with a handshake and a smile
Yeah.
than a video with millions of views.
Yes.
You can.
But we've been sold the other.
We have. But we've been allowed to believe that that's important because it's popular. We are
Exactly.
thinking that everything that is popular is right or
Yeah.
correct. And laziness is popular, and I know for a fact that's not right and not correct. It's a thing that we can there's a time and a place for, but it's not an answer. It's not an answer all.
Mm-mm. No, it's not. So it sounds to me, or, from you and from other people, and if you're awake and aware and you're looking around at information, it would appear that everything's going to come down. The
Yes.
systems are going to come down, the
Well, let's
structures that,
I'll say it this way. All of the systems that were built on faulty foundations or built of faulty materials, those are all coming down. They will. Yeah.
and you know what? I can't wait.
Yeah, it's
I'm
gonna.
so
I mean,
excited about it.
it's just like watching these horrible things happen on our earth. As they do, it's not, the destruction's going to happen. That's a natural part of life, but it's the rebuild. Let's
Yeah.
put our mind, our hearts, our thoughts into those who have survived, and put the energy and the love into them for the rebuild,
Yeah.
and build powerfully beautiful places full of light, community, and love. And that's the future of our planet. That is the future of our planet. And you were mentioning it earlier, Kim, that like we are going to communicate instantly to each other in that higher communication process, where There will be a point where I could walk in a room and say, everybody who's hearing this, let's all get up and leave together. And we will watch simultaneously a big group of people stand up and we'll all walk out together.
Yeah.
That is there, but I promise you, everyone who's getting up and walking out, they're not staring at their phone all day.
Right. So there's a question, and it's a good one from Leah. Will we be able to integrate our bodies with unity consciousness? I think that's where we're going.
We can now.
Yeah, good
We
point.
can right now. If you
Yeah.
don't know you can, go join a cause.
Yeah.
Join
Something
a
that really matters. Yeah.
join a unified purpose, like rebuilding North Carolina,
Right.
rebuilding Florida, rebuilding some of these heavy hit areas. Like, join a cause, but anxiously engage yourself in that joined cause.
Yeah.
Not anxiously, fully engage yourselves.
Excitedly. Yeah.
Excitedly. There we go. I like that better.
And I think that one of the things in the middle of these uncertain times, and one of the things that is my heart hurts often these days. It's like my heart hurts when I see people struggling, or they're losing loved ones, or they're having these challenges. I mean, it's an emotional time. But this is the
It's the
time.
time.
Oh, what do we this is the time that we need to start thinking about what it is that we want to build. Like,
Yes.
what's the next step?
This is the time, this is the space that we need to put out in our own thoughts of what we would like to see in our own
Yes.
futures. We would.
Yes.
And here's how we do it. We wrap it in spiritual concrete. And what that is gratitude. So what we do is we take the set desire and we think about it regularly, every day if you can, and wrap that in spiritual concrete, making
Okay,
it
give us
real.
an example.
So for instance, let's say I want to visualize North Carolina rebuilt and unified as a community, as the very strong community it's going to be in the rebuild. I want to put into the universe every single day, I am so grateful for the strong community of North Carolina and how amazing they are and resilient they are despite all of the things that have happened. And state that daily. And if you do that, that's as good as a prayer.
Yeah.
You can send a lot of very positive energy in their direction, and that's where it begins. And then, of course, get in front of that and actually do something for them too.
Yeah.
If you can't get there, donate, like do whatever you can for them.
Donate. Yeah. I've been finding individuals on Instagram and donating to them,
Yeah.
individuals. And, one of the things that I do is I imagine the world that I want to live in, like a beautiful community, clean food, clean water, beautiful, clean air, just, filled with love, filled with purpose, filled with fun, filled with creativity and ingenuity and all those things. It's because that's what we can create. This is our opportunity.
Hmm.
We're in the middle of the breakdown, but we want to make sure that we really know where we're going,
Yeah, and
because we
it's
get to
an
it.
we get to decide, right? And there's an important principle with this. We can never build anything by being anti something.
Yes, thank
So
you.
so cut away all your anti stuff.
Mhm.
Anti meat eater, anti this person, anti that person. Take away all your antis. They don't work. By you putting energy into anti something, you're actually giving energy to that said thing.
Mhm.
So be pro something. And not just pro, again, wrap that pro energy in gratitude and repeat it every day. Do it every day. Get your mind playing with that silly putty of gratitude on that object every single day, and you get closer and closer every day that you're alive to making that a reality. And
Yeah.
it's a true science in it. There's an actual science in the fact that our thoughts begin the power of creation. In physics, they have the photon slot experiment, where if they had the desire for photons to land on one side of the slot, they would. And if they changed their desire, just their desire, and wanted the photons to land in the other slot, the other side of the slot, they would.
Yeah.
That shows us, even in physics, known physics today, our thoughts are controlling our reality.
Yes. Everything starts with a thought.
That's our magic wands right there, our
I
thoughts.
know. How exciting. Guys, this has been such a great conversation.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
been awesome.
Thank you so much. How do we find out more about you?
Well, you can find me on at my nonprofit. It's livinggodslight.org, or .com, but yeah, .org, livinggodslight.org, and all my contact stuff's there.
Okay, and this is listed in the description box down below. This has just been such a wonderfully inspiring conversation. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Thank
much.
you for having me on. I love that you're creating positive content and you're doing this. Like you're not just one of these people consuming positive things, you're actually building positive things for others to consume. And I'm telling you, it's making a big difference because people will be having a rough day, a bad day. And even the algorithm is doing some of God's work by getting this message in the right hands at the right day, the right moment to shift that energy. Because
Yeah,
that's their contract with their guides is to go to that higher place where a lot of us are supposed to be.
yeah. It's exciting to think about being on a world with excited people.
Yes. Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, excited about good things, not politics
Exactly.
and all the other stuff.
I know. I'm with you. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much. I hope you'll come back and see us again sometime.
Absolutely.
All
Anytime.
right.
I'd love
All right.
to.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you in the next video. Okay. Bye now.
Bye bye.